Welcome to Let's English stories you can enjoy anytime, anywhere. Today's story takes us back to the early 1900s to the meeting of two very different men with one big idea. One was a brilliant engineer who built his first car by hand. The other was a wealthy man who loved luxury and believed in perfection. Together, they started something that would soon become a symbol of excellence: Rolls-Royce. This is a story of invention, trust, and ambition. It's also about the passion behind beautiful machines. Whether you love cars or not, you'll enjoy this journey through history, told in simple English, perfect for listening while you walk or relax. Let's begin. In the early 1900s, England was full of change. Horses still pulled carriages through the streets, but new machines were beginning to appear, noisy, strange-looking things called motor cars. Most people didn't trust them. They were expensive, hard to drive, and often broke down. But one man believed cars could be better. His name was Henry Royce. He was quiet, serious, and precise. Born in 1863, he had grown up poor and left school at the age of 9 to work. But he had a brilliant mind. Over the years, he taught himself engineering and started a small business that made electrical parts. By 1903, Royce had built his first motor car. It was small, simple, and much better than most cars on the road. But he didn't stop there. He wanted to build the best car in the world, strong, silent, and reliable. At the same time, another man was thinking about cars. His name was Charles Rolls. He was rich, charming, and loved speed. Rolls was fascinated by engines. He flew hot air balloons and raced the fastest cars he could find. But he was frustrated. Most cars in England were poorly made. He wanted something better for his customers. Rolls ran a motor car showroom in London. In 1904, a friend introduced him to Henry Royce. Rolls agreed to meet the quiet engineer, though at first he wasn't very interested. But when he saw Royce's car, everything changed. They went for a drive. The car moved smoothly, quietly. It didn't rattle. It didn't shake. It climbed hills without effort. Rolls was amazed. "I have never seen anything like it," he said. That drive was the beginning of something special. Though they were different in many ways, Royce, the careful inventor, Rolls, the stylish businessman, they shared a vision: to create a perfect car. Soon, they signed a deal. Rolls would sell the cars, and Royce would build them. They would carry both names: Rolls-Royce. It was a handshake that would shape the future of luxury travel. In 1906, just 2 years after Henry Royce and Charles Rolls met, they formed a new company, Rolls-Royce Limited. The goal was clear: to build the best car in the world, and soon they would create a machine that changed everything. That machine was called the Silver Ghost. The name came from its smooth, silent drive, like a ghost gliding through the streets. It was painted silver and had a quiet, almost magical presence. When it was shown to the public, people were amazed. The car didn't just look beautiful. It ran like nothing they had ever seen. Royce's engineering was the heart of the Silver Ghost. Every part was built with care. Every detail mattered. He tested, adjusted, and improved again and again. He believed that small things make perfection, but perfection is no small thing. Charles Rolls helped show the world what the car could do. In 1907, one Silver Ghost drove over 14,000 miles without breaking down. That was unheard of at the time. Other cars needed repairs after just a few hundred miles, but the Silver Ghost kept going. It was a triumph, and it made headlines. The car earned a new title: the best car in the world. Orders started coming in from across the British Empire. Rich clients wanted a car that was more than just transportation. They wanted elegance, silence, and reliability. Royalty, businessmen, and explorers all wanted a Rolls-Royce. The Silver Ghost wasn't just a car. It was a statement. The body of the car could be customized. Some models looked like royal carriages. Others had picnic sets built into the back. Rolls-Royce didn't build mass-market cars. Every car was special, made to fit the dreams of its owner. The company grew quickly, but it never rushed. Royce still believed in doing things slowly and carefully. He worked long hours, checking every piece of every machine. His health began to suffer, but he refused to stop. "I don't want to rest," he once said. "I want to work until the day I die." Charles Rolls, meanwhile, was becoming famous. He gave speeches, met with customers, and continued racing. But he wanted to do more than drive on land. He was fascinated by flight. In 1910, he became the first person to fly across the English Channel and return in one trip. It was a big moment in aviation, and Rolls was a hero. But just a few weeks later, tragedy struck. During an air show in Bournemouth, the tail of Rolls's plane broke in the air. The machine crashed, and Charles Rolls was killed instantly. He was only 32 years old. The news shocked the country. Even King George sent a letter of sympathy. Rolls was brave, bold, and full of ideas. His death left a deep hole, not just in the company, but in the world of invention. But his dream lived on. Royce continued designing. The Silver Ghost remained a symbol of strength and luxury. New factories were opened, and during World War I, the company began building engines, not just for cars, but for airplanes. The name Rolls-Royce was becoming more than a car brand. It was becoming a legend. When World War I began in 1914, everything changed. The world was at war, and countries needed machines, fast, powerful, and reliable ones. Cars were no longer just for the rich. Now they were needed for the army. And in the sky, planes were becoming part of the battlefield. Rolls-Royce quickly joined the war effort. Their cars were already known for strength and dependability, so the British military ordered dozens of them. These were no ordinary vehicles. The most famous was the Rolls-Royce armored car, strong, fast, and nearly unstoppable. It was built on the same chassis as the Silver Ghost, but covered in steel armor. It had a machine gun on top and was used in deserts, open fields, and even city streets. One British officer called it the finest vehicle of its kind. Another said, "It never lets you down." But even more important than cars were engines. The future of war and of travel was in the skies. In 1915, Rolls-Royce designed their first aircraft engine. It was called the Eagle. At first, some doubted the company's abilities. "They make fancy cars," critics said, "but airplanes are different." Rolls-Royce answered not with words, but with performance. The Eagle engine was powerful, light, and incredibly reliable. It soon powered many British planes, including some of the most famous bombers and fighters of the war. Pilots trusted the name. Mechanics respected it. In 1919, just after the war, the Eagle did something historic. It powered the first non-stop flight across the Atlantic Ocean. Two British aviators, Alcock and Brown, flew from Newfoundland to Ireland in a small plane with two Eagle engines. It was a dangerous flight, full of clouds, storms, and ice. But the engines never failed. That flight made headlines around the world. Rolls-Royce was no longer just a car maker. It was part of aviation history. After the war, the company kept growing. They improved their aircraft engines and continued to make high-end cars. Their name became a symbol not only of luxury, but of strength, trust, and innovation. Henry Royce, though tired and often sick, never stopped working. He didn't go to the factories anymore, but he worked from home, designing, drawing, testing. He believed deeply in progress. He once said, "Take the best that exists and make it better. If it doesn't exist, create it." His passion inspired everyone around him. In the 1920s and 1930s, Rolls-Royce became known for two things: the world's finest automobiles and the world's most reliable aircraft engines. And while their cars were famous, their engines were shaping the future. By the time the next war approached, people already knew, if you wanted the best, you turned to Rolls-Royce. When World War II began in 1939, the world faced an even greater storm than before. Nations were preparing for battles in the air, on land, and at sea, and once again, Rolls-Royce was ready to help, not with luxury cars, but with engines that would power history. By this time, Henry Royce had passed away. He died in 1933, but his ideas lived on. Engineers at Rolls-Royce followed his philosophy of precision and perfection. They had been working on a new engine, one that would soon become famous. Its name was Merlin. The Merlin engine was powerful, reliable, and small enough to fit into fighter planes. It roared like a lion, but ran smoothly like a watch. Most importantly, it gave pilots an edge, a chance to survive, to outfly the enemy, to protect their country. One of the first planes to use the Merlin was the Supermarine Spitfire, a sleek, fast British fighter. It became a symbol of courage, especially during the Battle of Britain in 1940. German planes attacked the skies over England, but Spitfires, powered by Merlin engines, fought back hard. Another plane that used the Merlin was the Hawker Hurricane, known for its toughness. Together, the Spitfire and Hurricane formed the backbone of the Royal Air Force, RAF. The Merlin helped turn the tide of war in the air. In those dark months, every flight mattered. Every pilot risked his life. But behind the scenes, the people building Merlin engines worked day and night. Many were women, thousands of them, who stepped in as workers while the men fought. They tightened bolts, polished parts, and checked every detail. The engine had to be perfect. Lives depended on it. Winston Churchill once said, "Never was so much owed by so many to so few." He was talking about the brave pilots, but those words also honored the workers behind the machines. By the end of the war, nearly 150,000 Merlin engines had been built. They powered not just Spitfires and Hurricanes, but also heavy bombers like the Lancaster, which carried out long missions across Europe. The Merlin became one of the most successful aircraft engines in history. After the war, Rolls-Royce returned to making cars, but they were changed forever. They were no longer just a luxury brand. They were part of the story of victory, invention, and sacrifice. The war had proven something important. Even in the hardest times, excellence matters. Rolls-Royce had built not just machines, but hope. engines that flew through fire and fear and helped bring peace. After the war, the world slowly began to rebuild. Cities rose from ruins, people returned home, and life moved forward. But some things had changed forever. Rolls-Royce was now more than just a car company. It was part of national pride, a name connected to courage, innovation, and excellence. In the late 1940s and 1950s, the company began building new luxury cars again. One of the most famous was the Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith, a long, elegant car often seen at royal events. Kings, queens, and presidents rode in them. The name Rolls-Royce had become a symbol of timeless class. But the company also continued to lead in technology. Rolls-Royce expanded its work with aircraft engines, now moving into jet engines. They developed some of the world's first and finest turbojets. Civil aviation was growing fast, and Rolls-Royce engines helped power the first generation of commercial jetliners. For decades, the company walked two paths, one in the world of smooth, silent luxury cars, and one in the high-speed world of flight. Over the years, many things changed. The company grew, faced challenges, even went through financial troubles in the 1970s. At one point, the car and engine divisions were split into two separate companies, but the name, Rolls-Royce, kept its meaning. People around the world still saw it as a mark of something special. In the car world, Rolls-Royce remained famous for doing things differently. Their cars were never rushed. Each model took years to design and perfect. They weren't made in high numbers, and no two cars were exactly alike. The cars were known for being quiet, smooth, and powerful. The ride felt like floating. The attention to detail, the stitching, the wood, the leather, was second to none. Everything was done by hand, by experts. Customers could choose everything from the type of paint to the exact pattern on the seats. A Rolls-Royce wasn't just a car, it was a personal masterpiece. In recent years, Rolls-Royce cars have become symbols of modern luxury. Models, like the Phantom Ghost and Cullinan SUV, are known around the world. They are still expensive, still rare, and still built with the same care that Royce believed in over 100 years ago. Meanwhile, Rolls-Royce Aerospace continues to be one of the world's leading makers of jet engines. Their engines power planes for companies like Boeing and Airbus. Some of the most advanced aircraft in the sky today use Rolls-Royce technology. From the streets of London to the clouds above the Atlantic, the name still carries weight. But perhaps the most powerful part of the Rolls-Royce story is not the machines, but the people behind them. The young boy who left school at 9 and taught himself engineering. The gentleman who loved speed and believed in style. The workers who built engines during war. The designers who still handcraft perfection. Rolls and Royce only worked together for a few short years, but what they created has lasted more than a century. Today, when someone says, "It's the Rolls-Royce of," they mean, "It's the best." That simple phrase is a legacy, a quiet sign of excellence, a reminder that when passion meets precision, anything is possible. Thank you for listening. What did you think about this story? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you have an idea for a story you'd like to hear next, let me know.